Hello, I wanted to run through a quick tutorial on how you can use social media to analyze the celebrity that you're talking about. The first important thing I want to say about these questions is I have all of the dot points that you see on all of these questions are think points, really. You don't have to address all of these dot points. What you do have to do is you have to select. What I've really done for each of the questions is I've kind of described the sorts of things that you might look at, particularly around questions 2 and 3, the sorts of things that you might do and you might look at to complete your second assessment. But listen to this carefully. You don't need to do all of them. You need to do the dot points that make sense to you, or even if you can come up with a different dot point, then that's fine too. And I want to explain how that's going to work with regard to celebrity. So in the celebrity lecture about political celebrity, I'm introducing you to the idea of intimization. And this is an idea from James Stanier that talks about the way that political celebrity works through drawing public attention to the private lives of political figures. And this is a kind of a way of thinking about the broader concept of authenticity. And in the lecture, I explain what intimacy means as a feature of celebrity, how exactly it is that political celebrities draw attention to their private lives, win over public opinion by covering elements of their personal lives that don't really have anything to do with their political opinions in a direct sense. And what I want to do today is I want to take one of the case studies that many of you were talking about in the first assessment, and that's Instagram celebrity, social media celebrity Tammy Hembrew. And I'm going to be talking about how we can use the concept of intimization to understand how her celebrity works through YouTube in particular. So what we are talking about here particularly is we are talking about how intimization explains how media industries turn people into celebrities, and also how celebrity helps us to explain the blending of media and everyday life. So what we're doing also here with Tammy Hembrew is I'm going to be looking at her YouTube page, and this is an example of picking a particular media event or story about your celebrity, then explain how this event is connected to your celebrity, it connects your celebrity to particular discourses about social reality. So what I thought we'd do in regard to this question, as an example of how you can turn it into a research project. Many of you talked about Tammy Hembrew, who's this fitness model, Australian fitness model, and this is her YouTube page. And I'm going to talk about how you can use this as a resource to talk about how her celebrity works. So what we're talking about is one of the things that we find in the concept of intimization is the idea that celebrity works by revealing a lot about the back life, the personal life of celebrities. So one of the things that you see that's immediately interesting about Tammy Hembrew is just if you look at all of these videos on her web page, of course, what you'll see is it's got all the classic hallmarks of intimization. So one of the elements of intimization is the idea of telling stories about celebrities at home. So let's just think about what we have. Okay, so we've got 36 videos here, and we have 1, 2, 3, that's a kitchen, bedroom, living room. Is the car a home space? Not quite sure. Pool at home, bedroom, living room, bedroom, living room, bedroom, garage, bedroom, bedroom, bathroom, bedroom. So one of the immediate things we see about Tammy Hembrew is she fits this notion of intimisation because most of her YouTube offerings are of her in the home. So like she's a fitness model, but here we've got only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 of the 36 videos feature her actually working out or modeling. So isn't that kind of interesting? So what we see is this fitness model, and most of her YouTube channel is actually about her at home. So we see immediately that just from looking at the, so what we're saying is we're taking her YouTube channel as a particular platform for celebrity and trying to make sense of how it communicates celebrity in relation to theories about how celebrity works. So we see immediately that this particular sample, if you were going to say, if you're writing your essay and you're saying, well, I'm going to talk about YouTube. Well, one of the reasons for talking about this as a sample is it's one of her important channels. And one of the things that we notice is that most of these things feature her at home. So how can we actually make sense of this a bit more? Well, I'll give you an example of how we might do this. Now, the first thing is you can capture all of this stuff if you want to by, you can capture Facebook pages, Twitter feeds, and also YouTube feeds in a particular way. The first thing is you have to be using, as a web browser, you must be using Google Chrome. So the first thing is you must have Google Chrome on your machine. And then the second thing you have to do is you have to add in this mCapture plugin. And what you will do is you will click on this, you will add the plugin, there's the link there, and that plugin will then show up as an icon in your browser. And then what you can do is, if you were wanting to capture this particular web page, or indeed what I've done for this one is, let's say we pick this particular video to focus on in general. You can capture the, now one of the things I would say is, one of the things I would look at is, this is a video where Tammy Hembrew was talking about her favorite clothes and where to buy them and so on and so forth. And what you can see beneath here is there's a range of reactions to those videos. So one of the things I'm saying is that we can do two things here. Firstly, you can look at this video and you can explain how it relates to theories of intimization, theories of authenticity that you have been talking about in your celebrity essay. But then the second thing you can do here, which is really useful, is you can actually capture how people react to them. So you've got a sense here down here of why people like her. What is it that attracts attention to her? There are two ways of doing this. Now, one way is you can capture the whole thing by simply clicking End Capture. Now you can see you've got three options here. You can capture the video, you can capture video and comments, you can capture web pages PDF. And what you do is you simply hit capture according to what you want to do. Then you go to En Vivo. You can see here that I've actually captured a lot of, I'll talk you through this in a second. I've captured a lot of these comments. I want to talk about different ways of doing it. One of the problems I find with trying to capture the whole page as a video and comments is it quite often works in quite a clunky way. So coding is quite a clunky thing to do. You can capture the video only. You can analyze these things. You can annotate them, but sometimes this doesn't work because of the vicissitudes of the internet, as far as I can figure out. So I'm actually going to suggest a different way of doing it. What I've actually done is I've gone down and I've simply highlighted all of these words copy. Now I've pasted them into a file. This is what they are. And then quite simply, I have put them in here. So I've got an internal quote here. Now this is what the PDF of the entire web page looks like. And it looks a lot better, but the problem is it's trying to read a lot of different sorts of data. So I find that things like coding are actually quite difficult. So let's go back then to, let's do something a bit easier. Now it's thinking, unfortunately. Let's go back to this quote here, which is so I'm dealing with these quotes, and the question is, well, I'm dealing with these quotes and I'm asking, what do they tell us about how celebrity works with audiences? So one of the things that I've done is I've sat back and I've thought immediately, well, what are some of the ideas that we would expect to crop up? What are some of the ideas that we would want to think applies to the relationship between people and celebrities? And just off the top of my head, now what you should do at this point is you can create some nodes based on concepts, key concepts from your first paper. Okay, so we know that there's probably going to be something about authenticity, which is closely related to intimacy. So I've done that, and I've put down, and then I've kind of added some extra ideas that are partly from my reading of what people are saying. So I've noticed that a lot of people really kind of like the fact that she's carefree. A lot of people talk about the informality of her videos. But if you're going to talk about the informality of the videos, I think it's quite important to say, well, what exactly is it that that people see as being representations of informality? And you can see this immediately. If you go down here, you've got Shanice Pigal, who says, I just love how raw this video is and just how natural Tammy is, hopping onto the bed and clapping like a kid who got a lot of presents for Christmas, and how the adjusting of the camera up and down didn't bother me at all. So one of the things you can do here is she's actually talking about a signifier there. And then we do that, okay? Now, and then so that's where we've got that. So other things that we might expect, are people criticizing her? If so, what? We have the idea, the notion of parasociality, the idea that people feel that they have a direct and intimate connection with Tammy Hembrew. So I wanted to code the number of times that people talk to Tammy directly. The other thing that we know is that a lot of the pleasure of the media is about people being social. So this has been a big theme that we've been talking about, the idea that one of the most persistent themes in understanding how media work in society, how they become socially relevant, is that they create opportunities for people to be social, for people to form their own communities, for people to form relationships with each other. And in that regard, I think it's really important to code the places where in here fans are talking to each other. And you can see that I've done that in a few places. So if you look at this node, what I've simply done is I've simply coded everywhere where people are talking to each other, where they're not actually talking to the video or making a claim about how they, or just simply expressing how they feel, where they're actually reacting to things that other people have posted or talking to each other. And then the other thing, of course, is that one of the things we know about celebrity is that it's defined by the relationship between the ordinary and the extraordinary. So we want to know those things that, the reasons why fans think that Tammy Hembrew isn't like everybody else. She's authentic because she's particularly special. She does something, she looks a particular way that no one else can do. So, I found this quote quite interesting. Okay, she has mastered the art of standing, posing to flatter her body, which I mean, her body's incredible, but just the way she moves around and positions her body makes her look so good and confident. I love it. So you kind of have this idea that this is someone who is performing in a way that not everybody can do. And then, of course, we would sort of see the extent to which it's kind of talking about the body as well. If we go back to the Hembrew quotes, you can see what I've done is I've actually just simply gone through and like, for example, this is where, so I've gone through here, I've clicked on this, I've right-clicked, code selection, Haley Rachel, or maybe she just feels more comfortable without a bra. That's an example of fans talking to each other. Now, the thing is, that might seem like a really inconsequential sort of thing that's happening here, but we've got the same thing underneath here. Dad's green totes, I do it all the time. I was just saying, that's the era we live in. Oh my goodness. But if you actually look at what's happening here, you'll see that I've just started coding. But one of the things you'll see if we go back to nodes is that this is already this is already emerging as a really important field that actually most of the time in what I've looked at so far, this pattern might not be what happens if you code all the quotes, but what we see is that talking either directly to Tammy Hembrew or with other people is one of the main things that is going on in this community. And so really above and beyond all else, what this is about on a certain level is about intimacy and the pleasure of communication, the pleasure of having a conversation, the pleasure of feeling social. And so in that sense, Tammy Hembrew is about kind of the general effects of media as a whole. But the point I want to make is that that's an example of how you can find a particular sample. So what I would do here is I would look at all these videos, look at maybe, which is the most popular one here, and then maybe figure out, well, why is it so popular? And how can you tell that from looking at what people say? So let's have a look at, and one of the things we find is that, most of these, we would want to talk about patterns, and one of the patterns is most of these things features videos at home. And we know from literature on YouTube that YouTube is seen as being a particularly intimate form of social media. And then we've found ways of figuring out how that intimacy works. So we've taken a particularly popular video. It's kind of interesting that Melbourne and new tattoo. So this is quite a popular video, and it isn't really about health and beauty or makeup or clothes at all. So, and if you look down here, counting macros, so this is like a serious diet video. Hardly anybody watches it. So you can kind of look through these, these videos, and you can kind of, just from the titles and the number of viewers, you can kind of identify patterns. And then what you need to do is pick a particular video to look at. Have a reason for why you want to look at this video. So in your paper, you'd explain why Tammy Hembrew, why YouTube, why this video. Download the quotes and look for patterns in the quotes where you are identifying nodes that somehow relate to ideas, concepts, theories about how celebrity work. And then you're looking at how far those theories help explain what people are saying. And that's one approach to doing the celebrity essay.